Hi guys, I trust you're well. Um, so I wanted to ask this very critical question, which I don't know how many of us really take very serious. What's wrong with Disney? Yeah, I'm talking about Disney, Walt Disney, you know, company that makes so many of the movies we watch. But before I even get into that, most of us think of Disney as synonymous with cartoons, animation, Pixar, and all those things. Yeah, that's Disney. Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Goofy, Donald Duck, and many of those animation, those cartoons we used to watch when we were young. Aladdin, all those Disney princesses, Sleeping Beauty, Mulan, and so on and so forth. See, I grew up watching this same series, this same cartoons, these same movies, and they were fun when I was growing up. There may have been one or two issues with one or two of them, but for the most part, it's the kind of carefree fun you could leave your child watching and walk away. But is that the same thing that is happening these days? For me, I started to notice the difference. Something changed around the turn of the century, like late 90s, early 2000s. Something changed. And maybe from some of the things that I'm getting out there, maybe those changes have been, those things that I'm just noticing have always been there, and I'm only noticing it because I'm older or because I have a better relationship with God by His grace. But those things are there now. You see, way back when, let's take for example a movie like Aladdin. The real movie, I mean, the live action movie just came out a couple of weeks ago. Aladdin was fun. I loved it. One of my favorite, really. Gotta eat, gotta eat to live, gotta still to eat, and gotta still to eat, gotta eat to live. With a little friend, Abu. I'm not as young as I used to be, and forgotten. I loved them. I mean, I could practically say all the words in the movie as long as I'm watching it, and but something changed. Back then, it was just a nice movie, but then this new movie comes out, and there are quite a few differences. Some of us may not see it as much, but there are messages in it, subtle messages. Since I've started with Aladdin, I love Will Smith. Will Smith, if not my best actor, my favorite actor, is in my top three. I love Will Smith. Don't like what's been happening with his career of late. He hasn't been making many great movies, but I still love Will Smith. And for me, yes, in the movie, he's like best actor, the best character. His character is the best. The genie, yeah, he did great. There are parts where he didn't do so good. Robin Williams simply was better at it than him, but that's not the point. Jasmine, my favorite Disney princess. I was in love with Jasmine as a child, as a teenager. Suddenly, we have a Jasmine that is rebellious. Suddenly, we have a Jasmine that, okay, take for instance the end of the movie. The Sultan is old. He wants his daughter to get married so that she, so that the kingdom can be safe. So now they decide that okay, the law that the princess must marry before she, a certain age needs to change, or must marry a prince needs to change. In the one that we watched in the 90s, 92 or 93, the Sultan simply changed the law. He was the Sultan. But in this modern one, the Sultan decides he's not going to be Sultan anymore. Then he hands it over to the girl, and she makes the new law. Why was that necessary? Taken just as just like that, it doesn't seem like much. But now I'm going to talk about all the other Disney movies that have been coming out over the past 5, 6, 10 years, you know, and those little changes that have been entering into those movies. And we ask ourselves, what is the message Disney is passing today? Where do I even begin? Where do I begin? Let me begin with Brave. Let me begin with Brave. Brave Merida is the princess. She's the daughter of the chief who is supposed to marry a certain guy. Now watch this. Somehow or the other, all the guys that are brought to her turn out to be fools and idiots and incompetents. One of them was even gay. Why are we dealing with gay characters in children's movies? They are talking about, let me just divert a little bit here, digress a little bit here. We're talking about, leave your children to be whatever they want to be and let them choose by themselves. Can children really choose by themselves? If you walked out of the house and you left your children alone in the house, what is more likely to happen? You will come back to meet your house in order or in chaos. You will come back to meet your children healthy or potentially injured. That's what children do. Children, the Bible says, foolishness resides in the heart of a child. The rod of correction will drive it out. Now, all over the world around us today, we are making it illegal to use the rod of correction, so that the foolishness that is residing in the heart of the child is staying there and it is getting stronger. And then, these are the same children that say you should leave them alone and let them choose by themselves. Choose what? If you have a farm or a garden and you don't plant anything in it, you sit back and watch. What is going to happen to the garden? Weeds will grow and they will not need your permission to grow. They will just grow. So when you don't put what is supposed to be there, when you are supposed to put it, all you have basically done is that you have invited nonsense to grow in that place. So children cannot choose by themselves. You have to choose for them. And the Bible is very specific about that. In Deuteronomy chapter 6, it says, talk about it with your children when you are lying down, when you are sitting down, when you are standing up, when you are walking. Talk about me. Say, bind it on your hand. Bind it for frontlets between your eyes. Let the stories of me and the things that I have done for you and the things that I stand for and the things that are important to you, let them be hammered into your children. Some of us are very stupid. We allow people who don't even know this God to teach our children. We don't even check what they are teaching them. And then we are saying that it is so difficult to raise children. It's difficult to raise children because you didn't raise them right. There's nothing easier than to raise a child. A child does something silly once, you tell them the first time and they don't listen. The next time they get a smacking. Smack the child. The child resets very quickly. The next time you tell the child, don't do that, you don't have to say it a second time. But we find many mothers stressing. You turn your back and the child is running off doing something stupid. You tell your child can't have something, and the child jumps on the ground and starts throwing a tantrum. Oh my word. Get the child up, smack the child. The next time, you won't have to say it twice. That's how to raise a child. And now, we have gay characters in children's movies. Basically, we are teaching. That's because what you want them to know or be is what you are teaching them. We are teaching these children that gay characters are okay. Why? Why? Is that normal? Will the world be where it is today if we were all gay? But let me not digress. Okay, let me not digress. Listen, if you're an adult and you want to do or be whatever you want to be, knock yourself out. We know what the Bible says. The Bible speaks against it, but that's your choice. You have decided that you don't want to do what God wants you to do. Live your life the way you want to. God will not force you. The Bible says, I will not condemn you, but when the time comes, my words themselves will judge you. That should be John chapter 12 something. So now we have these characters in Disney cartoons. Most of us just walk away and we leave our children watching these things. Okay, so the girl is supposed to marry. Of course, she chooses not to marry any of the three of them. In so doing, she invites a curse upon her family. And now there's a problem. Now they have to fight problems that they didn't need to fight simply because the girl was being rebellious. And at the end of it, somehow they find a way to solve the problem without the girl having to obey her parents. What is the message? Number one, your parents are stupid. Number one, all men are foolish. Number two, all men are foolish. Number three, you don't have to obey your parents. Simple message. Simple message. Let's look at something like Moana. I loved Moana. Still do. Beautiful movie. I love it. What's the message? Her dad told her, do not go into the water. Simple. The Bible tells us, honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. And what does Disney do? Disney arranges for the grandmother of this girl to help the girl defy her father. And they set it up in such a way that the father had to be wrong. So the father was wrong. She rebels against her father. She jumps in the water and she almost destroys everybody. The Rock plays Maui, the demigod. And throughout the movie, this guy is supposed to be a god. The guy is completely useless. He does absolutely nothing. The girl is the one who saves him throughout. They get to the very end of the movie. He's not even able to accomplish the mission. She's the one who accomplishes the mission. What's the message? Number one, you don't have to obey your parents. Number two, you are better than guys. Guys are useless. Simple. And that's Disney. These are the movies that we are watching. Let's look at another movie, Frozen. These are Disney movies. And I don't know how many of us are not seeing these things. So, two girls. One of them meets and falls in love with a guy immediately. And they are married, I think, by that night. The second one refuses to get married. So, after a while, it turns out that the guy she married is the bad guy. Okay, fair enough. It's a good twist to a story. Then she meets another guy. She starts to, I suppose, fall in love. She gets hurt and they tell her that it's only an act of true love that can save her. So this other guy who she's perhaps falling in love with is coming back around to try to help her. One way or the other, he is not able to help her. And it turns out that she is saved by her sister. It sounds like a nice story. Everybody is excited. Wow, what a new twist. What a new twist. Is it really a new twist? You don't have a choice when it comes to loving your family. You are born into that family. That is not love. That's obligation. Love is a choice. Love is that you are going to be with someone whether they hurt you or not. That's love. And most of us don't understand that. That's why many of us are having problems in the lives we are living. So the so-called act of true love is our sister saving her life. There's nothing wrong with our sister saving her life, by the way. But what the message is, number one, you can't trust a guy. Because the one guy that the younger sister does fall in love with, does marry, turns out to be the bad guy who is trying to kill her. Number two, the second guy, who she does fall in love with and is trying to save her, is unable to help her. Number two, so the second message, you can't trust a guy. You can't trust love. And then you're talking about familial love, for crying out loud, at the expense of marital love. Okay? And we are wondering why we are producing so many single parent families these days. Single mothers, single fathers. The world around us is celebrating them, and it's evil. Children are growing up in a situation where they were never designed to grow up. There is no daddy in the home. There is no mommy in the home. The daddy is in prison. The daddy is no good. He's a drunk. Why is it the daddy that's always painted bad? Why don't we look at the women who should be chaste, who should be modest, who should keep their chastity and fidelity, but are all over the place having babies with more than one father? I'm not saying we should shame them, but certainly shouldn't be celebrating them. And these are the cartoons that our children are watching. And then we will now wonder how they will grow up adults. The Bible says they will speak with the enemy in the gate. These are the ones who are supposed to deal with the enemies when the enemy is trying to come in, the enemy being the devil. But they have been so indoctrinated by these wonderful, lovely cartoons that we've been watching. By the way, the moment I saw the movie, I just couldn't stand it. I wasn't going to let my daughter watch it at all until I found out that she had watched it at a neighbor's place. Where am I going with this? What's wrong with Disney? What's going on at Disney? A few years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, Atlanta, Georgia, I heard that there was going to be a bill that was going to be passed, to, I think it was to permit certain companies, certain establishments, to refuse to marry gay couples if it's a choice to refuse to marry gay couples if they religiously object to it. Disney, who arguably brought in, I don't remember how much it was, billions, certainly billions of dollars to Atlanta, Georgia, because Atlanta, Georgia gave them tax rebates for shooting movies there. Disney threatened the government and said they would take their business elsewhere if that bill was passed. Why would Disney put their weight behind that kind of, activity? Why? You see, these are the questions. What's going on at Disney? What's going on at Disney? Now, that's not the issue. That's not the only issue. That's just the cartoon segment. Now, watch the other side of it. Disney is practically buying up everything. Disney has bought Star Wars. And what happens immediately they buy Star Wars? We have a new Star Wars where a girl is the hero. And the guy is practically useless. John Boyega is useless in the movie, and the movie is no longer interesting. The series 9, 8, 9, 7, 8, 7, and 8 have been poor, in my opinion. Just terrible, poor. I can go on. I can go on. Then they brought in the Avengers. To be honest, the Avengers have been awesome. But somehow or the other, they are trying to infuse that same, theme of man is useless and men are more and women are more useful into into the movie. Take for example, Thor is one of the creatures in the whole universe who can actually hold the Tesseract. So he is that powerful. Captain Marvel never actually touches the Tesseract. She's just exposed to the energy from the Tesseract. Suddenly she's the most powerful creature in the whole universe. Captain Marvel alone fought Thanos to a standstill. As much as I praised Avengers Endgame, Captain Marvel alone fought Thanos to a standstill. Meanwhile, Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America were fighting Thanos and they were getting beaten. What's her name? Scarlet Witch. She was practically killing Thanos alone. And she had only about 5 seconds to do it. Why? What's the idea? What's going on at Disney? What's going on at Disney? Listen, I'm not asking anybody to boycott Disney. I'm not saying anything like that. I like Disney. I still watch, although I'm no longer interested in the Avengers series. I'm still interested in Doctor Strange. I'm still interested in Black Panther. Barely. But beyond that, really, nothing else holds any interest for me in Marvel. Nothing. Just doesn't. Just don't. Okay? But they're just moving in a direction that is dangerous. My admonition is this: don't just leave your children watching these things carelessly. Sit down with them and watch them with them. If there are themes in the movie that you don't want your children to imbibe, Sit down with the children and talk with them about it. Train up your child in the way he should go. When he is old, he will not depart from it. But please stop mistaking Disney for being entertainment or benign. Disney clearly has an agenda, and they are one of the most powerful companies in the world right now. They've bought the X-Men franchise, and don't just leave your children with these things. Sit down with them, watch the series, watch the TV, watch the cartoon, watch the movie with them. Explain to them what is happening in whatever scene it is that has a message you don't like. Whatever the case may be, more importantly, sit down with your children and teach them the word of God. The Bible calls them, says that they are like arrows in the hands of a mighty man. Arrows need to be sharpened and prepared to be put in the quiver. They have to be feathered and they have to be notched before they can be fired. Okay, they go through process in order for them to be straight and for them to be aimed and fired to enter into the target. That's what your children are. They are tools, weapons in your hand to be prepared for the work of God. Treat them as such. You have to love them, be there for them, and prepare them for the truth. If you treat them as if, everything is all right, trust me, these same children are going to be so twisted by what they are exposed to, they will not be able to function in the real world. And the world around us, we can see it. It's falling apart. In possibly my next video, I will look at, Matthew chapter 24, what the Bible says about what to expect in the times that we are in. And I would love to be able to just read it directly, just read it directly, and we discuss all the points one by one to make it very clear what it is that God tells us to expect in these times. For now, if you like the video, click like. If you don't like it, leave a comment, subscribe, click on the notification button so you know when another one comes in. More importantly, share. There are people who need to have answers to these questions. There are people who need to see these things. God bless you. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.